Okay, so I'm back with another political talk video. This time, I decided I wanted to talk about the 2022 midterm elections, which at the time of recording this are just under a month away, and I want to talk about the Senate. Now, this election cycle, there are 35 Senate elections that are going to happen in November. 14 Democrats that are for re-election, or 14 seats, I should say, and 21 seats held by Republicans. And currently, the Senate is 48 Democrats, 2 independents that align with the Democrats, and 50 Republicans. So it's 50-50 with Vice President Harris the tie-breaking vote. So I want to give my real thoughts real quick on all 35 elections and where I predict each one's going to go. Now, most of them I'm going to go pretty quickly, only a few that I'm going to actually go in depth. But before I do, this map shows the current makeup of the U.S. Senate by each state. Blue is both Democrats, red is both Republicans, purple is a Democrat and a Republican, and then there's the two light blue up here representing the two independents that align with Democrats. So this is essentially, I'm going to hold it a little more, the current makeup of the U.S. Senate, all 100 senators. And so I'm going to go through real quick, get my thoughts on each Senate race that's going to happen next month, and then I have my final prediction map, which I'll show at the end. So, like I said, we're going to go through each one real quick. So first, Alabama. Senator Shelby is retiring, and more than likely because it's Alabama, a very red state, I'm pretty confident the Republican Britt is going to take the seat. So it's essentially a Republican replacing a Republican. Alaska, Murkowski is the senator up for re-election there. Now, even though a Democrat won the special election seat, I think it's only because she won because she was going up against Palin, and Palin was really unpopular in Alaska. So I honestly think Murkowski is going to get reelected. Next, Arizona, currently held by Democrat Mark Kelly. I think it's going to be close, but I think Kelly's just barely going to hold on to the seat. So it's going to still be a Democratic seat in Arizona. Arkansas, again, a fairly red state. I'm pretty confident Boozman is going to win his election, so he'll maintain his seat. California, originally Vice President Kamala Harris was from California. When she became Vice President, Padilla was basically given the seat, or filled in the seat, and now he's for election. I think he's going to win the seat in his own right because he's from California, he's a Democrat from California, blue state, so it's going to maintain the seat. Next up, Colorado, Michael Bennet. No question, it's Colorado, fairly blue. He's going to maintain his seat. On to Connecticut, again, same thing, fairly blue state. Blumenthal, likely going to maintain the seat. Doubt he would lose it. Next up is Florida. Now, Marco Rubio is up for re-election in Florida, and as much as I don't like Rubio, I honestly think Val Demings is not going to unseat him. This is the one I hope I'm wrong more than any other on this list, but in all honesty, I think Rubio is going to hold on to his seat, even if it's only by a few points. I honestly don't want Val Demings to lose, but more than likely Rubio is going to hold the seat, so it's going to maintain a Republican seat. Georgia, probably the most contested election. This one, I think Warnock is going to barely hold on to the seat, mainly because in the last 2 weeks there have been multiple scandals about I forgot his name already. The guy who's challenging Warnock. I had to pause and look it up real quick. Herschel Walker. So there have been multiple scandals in the last 2 weeks of Walker with multiple children from different women. At least one that he paid to have an abortion. Questions about his mental health incapacity. So much has happened in the last couple of weeks that I would be amazed if Warnock lost the seat to Walker. So I honestly think it's going to barely be held by Warnock, sorry. So yeah, this one will maintain blue in Georgia. Next up, Hawaii. Hawaii, one of the bluest states. Brian Schatz is going to maintain his seat, no question on that one. Next up in Idaho, fairly red state. I'm pretty sure Crapo, however you pronounce it, he's going to maintain his seat. Next up, Illinois. Tammy Duckworth, current senator up for re-election there. Again, Illinois, very blue seat. Pretty sure she's going to hold on to it. Indiana, Young is the current senator there, Republican. It's Indiana, very red state. No question he's going to hold on to the seat. Iowa. So Grassley is the Republican senator up for re-election in Iowa. And Iowa, much like Florida, probably a decade ago would have been considered a swing state, but nowadays Iowa's more of a red state. However, and Grassley, I believe, is the oldest senator currently serving in the U.S. Senate. And as much as I really wish he would just retire, I honestly think Iowa, because it's a red state, he's going to maintain his seat. Now the question is, will he even survive another term? I'd be amazed if he did. But if he doesn't, they'll just have a special election and then replace him. But yeah, as much as I think Grassley's really old and he really should have just retired, sometimes power makes people just want to not give it up. So yeah, Iowa's going to maintain that seat is held by a Republican. Kansas, Moran's up for re-election. Pretty confident Moran's going to hold on to that seat. Kentucky, Rand Paul's up for re-election. Again, another seat I would like the Republican to lose, but realistically, I don't think Paul's going to lose. I'd be amazed if he did. But realistically, I think Rubio's more likely to lose his seat than Paul is, so Paul's probably going to maintain his seat. Louisiana, Kennedy's up for re-election. No question, Louisiana, fairly red state. Kennedy's going to hold on to his seat. All right, next up, Maryland, fairly blue states. Pretty sure Van Hollen's going to maintain that seat. We got Missouri, where Roy Blunt is retiring, and I'm pretty sure, because it's Missouri, Schmidt is going to win the seat, so it's going to just go from a Republican to another Republican. Next up, we got Nevada. Cortez Masto it's considered a toss-up there, but I think she's going to maintain it just barely. I'd be amazed if Nevada, if the Republican won, but I'm pretty sure Cortez Masto will hold on to it, but just barely. I'd be amazed if she lost, but from what I've seen of polls, I think she'll just barely hold on to it. Next up, New Hampshire. New Hampshire's kind of a hit-or-miss red-blue state, but I think Maggie Hassan's going to maintain the seat, so it'll still be held by a Democrat. New York, no question, Schumer's going to get reelected again. Another senator who I think probably should consider retirement. Now, he's not as old as Grassley, but I think Schumer, although this is more of a thing with Pelosi as well, I just think we need new leadership for the Democrats. If Schumer wins, obviously he's probably going to maintain his seat and his position as leader of the Democrats in the Senate, but that's a different topic for a different day. Next in North Carolina, Burr is retiring. Bud, I think more than likely is going to replace him, so again, a Republican replacing a Republican. Not much change there. North Dakota, Hoeven, Republican, more than likely going to maintain his seat. North Dakota, another fairly red state. All right, now Ohio, probably the first major change for the Senate. Portman is retiring, and from what I've seen of polls there, I think Tim Ryan just barely is going to win the seat. So it'll go from a Republican to a Democrat. I would be amazed if Ryan lost. Polls have shown that he has a slight lead, so more than likely Ryan will win, but again, probably just barely within the margin of error, but that's still the first major change from a Republican to a Democratic seat. All right, Oklahoma has two. It's standard Republican up for re-election and then another special election. So Inhofe is retiring. Lankford is up for re-election. I think Lankford is going to win the seat, and I think Inhofe is going to be replaced by Mullen. So it's just going to be still two Republicans representing Oklahoma. Next up, Oregon, very blue state. No question, Wyden's going to get reelected there. Next up, we have Pennsylvania, which I think will be the next major shift. Toomey's retiring. Dr. Oz is doing a horrible campaign. Fetterman has quite a large lead, at least the time you're talking about this. I think Fetterman's going to maintain that lead. So once again, we'll see a Republican seat flip to a Democrat. Next up, we got South Carolina. Another senator I would like to see be replaced by a Democrat, but realistically, I think Scott is going to maintain his seat. He's not going to lose his reelection. Senator who, again, I think there was a chance at one point, but Scott has maintained enough of a lead where I think it's going to stay his seat. South Dakota, Thune is up for reelection. Thune is probably going to maintain his seat. Next up, we got Utah, fairly red state. Pretty sure Mike Lee is going to win his election. All right, next up is Vermont. Patrick Leahy is retiring. Fairly confident because it's Vermont. Welsh will win the seat, and it will still be Sanders as the independent talking to the Democrats, and the Welsh is the Democrat in representing Vermont. Next we go Washington State. Murray's up for re-election. No question, she's going to win. Then we got, finally, Wisconsin, which I think is probably the last, one where it's very close. But given some issues that have come up recently with Johnson and his involvement with January 6th, I think he'll just barely lose. This is another one I think I might be wrong, but I'm hoping I'm right in that I think Barnes will beat Johnson. So Wisconsin will go from being a purple state and that has a Republican and a Democrat. The Republican seat will flip to a Democrat. So if Barnes wins, that makes three Republican seats that will flip to Democrats. So after the 2022 midterm elections, I'm predicting we'll have 51 Democrats, 2 independents who caucus with the Democrats, and 47 Republicans, which will result in this new map. So as you can see, Ohio, solid blue now, Pennsylvania, solid blue, and then Wisconsin, solid blue, whereas the original map had all three at purple. But that would be the only major change, because I think too many of the Republican seats that are retiring are going to maintain Republican, and then there are a couple of states that I think could go one way or the other, but realistically, probably not going to change. Like I said, Florida, more than likely is not going to change, and the other one I said, in Iowa, the other one I said probably is going to maintain red. So that's the way I predict the 2022 midterm election, Senate elections are going to go. And as for the House, I didn't want to do a big video on that. I think the Democrats are going to maintain the House, but just by single digits. And then obviously, since midterms, Biden isn't up for re-election until next time. But as I said in the previous video, I honestly hope that right after the midterms, Biden announces he's not going to seek a second term, and then maybe just make it so try to get someone like, say, Harris, who's his VP, or maybe someone in his cabinet to run as his successor, just so we can avoid a long, contentious primaries, because I think it's going to be crazy with the Republicans, so the Democrats don't have as much craziness early on. Maybe we'll make it easier for 2024. So yeah, that's all I got to say for this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already, and if you comment, hopefully I can get back to you reply to you and get back to you with some more content in the future. Alright, take care.